But I have a friend who is a libertarian socialist, and he posted a video dealing with, I guess there's a controversy within their small group pertaining to whether or not racialism is compatible with anarchism. And while I disagree with racialism, I myself am in an interracial marriage, and I've been maligned by many racialists over time. I think that his arguments are rather interesting, and I think his arguments kind of go to the heart of the problem with anarchism in general. And so I thought, my friend talks about how all people are equal, and all people have equal dignity, and they must be viewed merely as individuals. Now, he goes on to describe what he means by the term individual. He says that they have thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, aspirations, etc. But what he fails to note is that an individual is also of a certain race. I mean, that's just a fact. If you look at me, sure, I have thoughts, dreams, hopes, etc., but I also have white skin. Okay, I'm also of a certain ethnicity. I'm also of a certain cultural background, or my lineage comes from a certain place, and it's much different than others. There's differences, even physiologically, amongst people, and that much should be admitted. We're not talking about intellect or dreams. We're talking about recognizing various cultures and physiological differences, etc. So I think that to ignore the racial aspect of the individual is to some degree, greater or less, to ignore the fact that he is an individual. And I think it's arbitrary for him to limit an individual to internal components, whether they're thoughts or feelings. I think that he asks a really good question. He asks how the white nationalist, anarchist, whatever, plans on actually maintaining white anarchism. But what he fails to really consider is how an anarchist, in general, would be able to maintain anarchism. I mean, how are they going to be able to maintain that? Say these are the really rich and famous. These are easy ones to pick on. The rich and the famous could then say, well, I'm going to go ahead and start a government. Well, what's the anarchist going to do? How is the anarchist going to be able to preserve this? The anarchist, were he to not resort to violence, which is the very thing that he says the white nationalists would have to do, would have to hope, cross his fingers and hope to die, that these people remain true to this ideology of nonviolence, this ideology of pure individualism and anti-statism, and hate the idea, continue hating the idea, that there is room for what we know as the institution of the state. It literally takes, it's almost religious in nature. It's as if they not only need to be converted in order to believe this, but they need to remain so. You almost have to have this eternal security concept within anarchism that somehow these people are going to always want it to be anarchistic. Now, as I said, if somebody says that they don't want to be, regardless of whether or not it's for racial reasons, let's say it's for monetary reasons, let's say for the purpose of power, how then is the anarchist community, these people, radical individuals, this society of radical individualism, how are they going to stop somebody from creating a central government? It's the same problem. You have the exact same problem that he does. You just don't recognize it. Unless we have a conversion of the entire world, there's ultimately going to be a map that's going to have lines on it. Okay, anarchism. Let's say Mexico decides they don't want to be anarchistic, or let's say Michigan decides they want to be. I'm from Michigan, but let's say that Indiana decides they don't want to be. Well, ultimately, you're going to have lines somewhere. The idea of lines is inevitable. It really is, unless, of course, you have this utopian notion that the entire world is going to convert, and see the beauty and the intelligence of anarchism and stick with it. You're going to have lines. My friend even goes so far as to draw lines himself. He may not wish to think so, but he has. He drew a line, first of all, by saying that he doesn't want that guy to be an anarchist. He doesn't want them to even associate with it. He drew a line in talking about how There is no belief in hierarchy or gender stereotypes or a belief in God or anything like this. These are all lines that are being drawn. And how are you going to enforce them? Persuasion. Mere persuasion. Good luck on that one, because you guys have failed for a very long, long time. Something peculiar to me was his insistence that private property, no such thing as private property. People can go and do as they please. Now, as nice as that may sound, and it's awfully utopian, as nice as it may sound, I'm not exactly sure I would like somebody to come over and take my Mac. I don't know if I would like somebody, I don't know if he would like somebody to go and take his computer. Maybe he wouldn't mind. Maybe he'd be like the strict Mennonite who would stand by watching his wife get beaten and raped because he takes a stand on nonviolence. Maybe that's the kind of individual he is. I'm not exactly sure. But I would feel really uncomfortable being a married man, okay, and procreating with my wife, and somebody having freedom of travel because I don't have private property even in my own home. So my home would be outside the borders, outside the boundaries of private property. So somebody could come in. We'd have all these voyeurs. I mean, not like I specifically a person somebody wants to watch have sex. But the fact is that's what it would boil down to. My friend derides groupthink, and yet for some reason he insists that there is a normative ethic within anarchism. Now, how that is somehow not groupthink is beyond me. Somehow, everybody believing in radical individualism and hierarchy, denying hierarchy and lacking a belief in gender stereotypes or God or anything else, that somehow that those aren't a form of groupthink is beyond me. I think that's royally contradictory. That's not even a paradox. That's just a flat-out contradiction. You are requiring prerequisites ethically and epistemologically for an anarchist. And in doing so, you subsequently go on to say that there is no such thing. And this is absurd. In the end, the anarchist, in my opinion, is left with quite a problem. On the one hand, they wish to be radical individuals. On the other hand, they want everybody to think just like them. It's kind of like the people who shop at Hot Topic. I have a lot of individuals, acquaintances, a couple friends who go there, and I hear all the time they say, well, I'm not a conformist, and yet they look like all their friends. They wear dark clothes, they wear the pants with the chains on them, they wear makeup, and they listen to certain music, and they cut themselves, they do whatever they want. But all the while, they're nonconformists. It's not that they're nonconformists, it's that they're conforming to a different group. So with anarchists, while anarchists may wish to think that they can ideologically abstain from groupthink, the very fact that they rely upon the common belief of the masses to have such a society is indicative of the fact that they rely upon some level, to greater or less, of groupthink. They do. If the group doesn't think alike, well, you're just not going to get your way. You're still going to have a state. So the group is going to have to buy into your idea of hierarchy and gender roles and conventions and different things of that nature. They're going to have to buy into that. And if you've got a different word for it than groupthink, you can throw it out there, but it'll be of no avail. So watching the video was it was an interesting experience, to say the least. It caused me to put my video cam up and actually reply, even with a SpongeBob Band-Aid on my face. So